Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing a study I have entitled Three Psalms. And we're looking at the connections between Psalm 23, Psalm 90, and Psalm 103. Psalm 23 and Psalm 90 both contain a statement that explains, that defines the faith of two of the great men of all time, two of the great men of God, David and Moses. Psalm 103 is a commentary and a response to Psalm 90 from David to Moses. And so we're looking at these three together. And today we're still in Psalm 90, and we want to talk about Psalm 90's portrait of God. We talked about that in Psalm 23. And remember the portrait of God that David painted. God is always present. God leads us, God feeds us, God protects us, and God will lead us home, his home, where we will dwell forever. That's David's portrait of God, of Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What is Moses' portrait of God? Let's read the text again. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You return man to dust, and say, Return, O children of man, for 1,000 years in your sight are but as yesterday when it is past, or as a watch in the night. You sweep them away as with a flood. They are like a dream, like grass that is renewed in the morning. It flourishes and is renewed. In the evening it fades and withers. For we are brought to an end by your anger, and by your wrath we are dismayed. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sin in the light of your presence. For all our days are passed away under your wrath. We bring our years to an end like a sigh. The years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength 80, yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone, and we fly away. Who considers the power of your anger and your wrath according to the fear of you? So teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom. Return, O Yahweh, O Lord. How long? Have pity on your servants. Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad for as many days of you as you have afflicted us, and for as many years as we have seen evil. Let your work be shown to your servants, and your glorious power to their children. Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish the work of our hands upon us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. It's interesting that he begins and ends the song referring to the Lord our God as Adonai, as the boss, as the Lord, the one who makes the rules. And it's the only time he uses God's name is right in the middle in verse 13, where he says, Return, O Yahweh, how long? Have pity on your servants. It's almost like God's name is so special. We use it sparingly. What do we know about God? Well, he's eternal. He existed before the universe. He will exist when the universe is gone. He is omniscient. He knows everything. We can't hide anything from him. He is omnipotent. He is in control of everything. And there's nothing that can in any way thwart his will. His will be accomplished. So that's what we know about God, that God is everlasting, he's eternal, he's omnipotent, and he's omniscient. We also know that he's made promises to us because he talks about loving kindness, hesed, which is such a key Old Testament word. It's the word David uses in Psalm 23. Surely goodness and hesed, loving kindness, mercy, covenant loyalty by God will follow me all the days of my life. God's made promises to me, and I know he'll keep them. And God's made promises to his people, and he's asking for God to keep them. Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all of our days. Um, um, So he's asking for God to be true to his word, which is that he will deliver his people and see his people through. And one of Moses's points is we've always been bad. We've been bad from the beginning. You know this. You're the one who made the rules. You're the one who made the consequences. You're the one who made us. But you also made promises. So please keep those promises. However, as we noticed yesterday, Moses's hope for God fulfilling his promises are quite meager. You know, give us as many good days as you have given us as we have earned bad days. Give us as many good years as we have had bad years. And let our children know you as their own God, the way you've let us know this, and establish the work of our hands for a little while so that our children, our grandchildren will be able to benefit from the work we've done in this life. And that's all. He doesn't in any way ask for goodness and mercy to follow him all the days of his life and to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And that in itself says something about God. God and Moses had such a close relationship. The person that was there with Moses when he died was God. The person who buried Moses is God. The only person who knows where Moses is buried is God. And at the end of every day, Moses and God would meet at the tent of meeting and speak to each other as a man does with his friend. There was a daily intimacy between Moses and Yahweh that no one else ever had, especially in the Old Testament. No one has had this experience, and yet it was tense, and it was about leading God's people. They were on task. This is not the C. Austin Miles hymn, I come to the garden alone. They are on task, moving a nation of people for 40 years around a landscape that cannot sustain them. And they need water from the rock. They need quail and manna from God every day to survive. And so they have these conversations, but they're on task when they have them. He does not have in any way the sense of God's special, tender, parental care, not the way David does. We're going to look at Psalm 103 next. And David is going to be affected by this psalm, and he's going to respond to it. Psalm 103 is quite clearly a response to Psalm 90. And it's David, as we will see, saying to Moses, your math facts are right, but you haven't interpreted the data properly. Everything you say about us is true. But God, the portrait of God that you paint, that's not the God who loves us. That's not the God who is. Everything you said about God is true, but it's not everything that's true about God. And I need you to see the rest of it. And that's why David writes Psalm 103. So we'll look at that next time, introduce it. Thank you so much for being with me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.